Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to all of you. I welcome you in the second lecture of report writing skills. In the previous lecture, I gave you an outline that we would be covering within the course, and we started with the introduction of report writing, what it is, what is the basic objective of writing a report, what is the purpose, the scope of writing a report, what things are basically expected while you are writing a report, which points are required to be considered when you are preparing your draft. Keeping in view all those points, we are going to discuss our today's lecture as well. Many things would be helping you to understand the basic concept of report writing. This lecture would be a review of those points that we have discussed in the previous lecture, and would also pave the way for the material and content which is coming ahead. So if we come to our first slide, the nature of the audience is very important, and you need to keep in mind while preparing your report. There are basically three types or categories of addressee which read the content that you have prepared within the report. And keeping in view their nature, all the points that are required to be there within your content and within your draft. If we talk about the first category, which is the technical readers, they basically know all the statistical data. They know how to interpret all those figures and diagrams that you have included and made part of your report. So their focus is usually on the graphs, the tables, the charts, and all the things which are available in figurative language. And they would know how to interpret it. So if that is your target audience, these things are mandatory and are required to be there within your report. If we talk about the second category, which is basically the managerial readers, these are of course the people who are in higher positions, people with limited time, and they are of course having so many meetings within their daily schedule. So if someone is short of time, of course he would be the one looking at the gist of the material provided by a person. So now I believe you'll be getting a clear idea what is expected by these managerial readers. Yes, very right. They look for the executive summary, as we discussed in the previous lecture. The abstract should be clear enough and comprehensive that it simply has all the points which are required by the managerial readers. If those points are there, it's very much clear. But if we talk about the third category, the general readers, as the term itself indicates, they look for the generic information. They are the ones not that much aware of the statistical data or talking about the higher positions that the managerial staff has. They need explanation for everything. So in case of this nature of addressee, you need to explain and elaborate all the things which are part of your report. So simply keep this circle within your mind while preparing your draft. If we move towards the next slide, although we talked about the basic purpose of report writing in our previous lecture, but there are some other things as well that you need to keep in mind. Talking about the information, of course, it's always required. Report is always written keeping in view a scenario or a context which is provided to you. Then based on that scenario, you are given a task to carry out research and analysis. Based on those findings, you provide the information which is expected from you. So that's why this information is very much important part of your report. In a similar way, if we talk about a scientific report, you are expected to provide set of instructions as well. So these instructions are the basic steps that you have taken to carry out an experiment should be a part of your report as well. Talking about the procedure, if you are performing a task, you need to describe each and every step so that the readers may know how you started from A and then reached towards the conclusion Z. So there needs to be a description within your overall report. Explanation is also as important as the other points which are written within this circle. If things are not properly explained, the readers which are general won't be able to understand why you have written that report. So explanation or elaboration of all the procedure carried out and the objectives, the results, the findings, the conclusion and recommendation is very much essential part of your report. And if it's there, it would be considered as a comprehensive report. Mechanism is also quite relevant and related while performing a task. You have performed the task, that doesn't mean that it won't be repeated again. To verify your findings, it is expected from you to provide the procedure and the whole mechanism that you have performed to gain those results that you have achieved. So if the mechanism is being provided, it will be considered as a comprehensive report. Moving onwards, this basically is a figure. As I mentioned in my previous lecture as well, there are different forms of technical writing. So I just gave you a picture where this technical report writing has the central position, as it simply asks for more concentration and focus when you are preparing this type of writing. We have the instruction, we have description, we have a resume format, we have a memorandum, we have a press release, and we have this concept of email writing. But technical report writing, as it is the focus of our whole course, has the central importance, as it has different characteristics of all these different forms of writing, and simply asks for more care and caution when we are dealing with this form of writing. If we move ahead, we have a very good definition of understanding this form of writing. It's basically a written account of events related to a scientific inquiry, just the way we explained it. This is the second point that was explained in detail, and that's why I have highlighted it over here as well. That is an exercise of effectively communicating a technical information. If you have just provided that information in a technical form of writing, it won't be enough. It would be an incomplete report. The focus lies in how effective you are to convey that information by the use of those words which are sufficient enough to convey the meaning that you want the audience to understand. Only then it would be considered as an effective communication in the form of technical information. And how is that thing going to happen? It involves the interpretation of graphs, tables, figures, and an appropriate use of language. And the foundation of the whole procedure lies in the organization of that information. a structured organization of information. And that is the reason I mentioned that it's a structured form of writing, involving an organization, the arrangement of text into sections and subsections. And that is how you arrange things into a logical sequence and into a logical order. Moving ahead, these are some of the universal characteristics which would help you to write your own report writing. The first thing which is expected from you is to keep your voice active. You have a good knowledge and concept related to what is an active voice and what is a passive voice. So you need to focus on the active voice. You need to keep your writing active while you are preparing your report. The second thing is the use of third person. Why? Because if you are going to use first person in particular and second person in general, that is going to create problem in the form of subjectivity. The element of biasness would be created. Your own opinion would become part of it, which is not basically expected while you are writing a report. You need to keep your language objective and impartial, and that is only possible if you are keeping and maintaining the use of third person within your report. In a similar way, an explanation of the previous point is that no personal pronouns should be used, as it would also create the ambiguity within the text. The only way to avoid the creation of subjectivity would be to maintain your writing impartial and objective, and that is only possible by the use of third person. This is basically related to the next point, of course, related to the physical appearance of your report. It is generally a norm to keep margin on all sides of 1 inch. There could be some variations as well, but that depends on the nature of your report writing. And it could be in the form of the guidance that you get from your teacher. For example, if the teacher tells you to have a little bit of change within the format, so you'll get the instructions before the actual process of report writing begins. But as a general norm, few points are being shared with you for a general understanding of the whole process of report writing. The next point is basically related to the sections which come at the end. Of course, after carrying out the whole research and drafting the whole report, you need to provide proper citations. You need to mention each and every thing which was part of this whole process. So all the relevant information should be properly cited, and their details should come at the end in the form of works cited, or you can call it as the bibliography as well. And basically the last point is also an explanation that the authors that you are citing within your process of report writing should be credible. They should be well recognized, they should be conspicuous, so that your report may have a worth of reading as well. And that is going to make a good report when it comes out at the end. Moving ahead, this would be the main focus in the upcoming section as well as in the upcoming lectures as well. Now we have moved onwards. Hopefully you have a good idea of what basically is a report. Now comes the time of how to prepare a report. And for the preparation of a report, you should have a clear idea how it is structured. As we talked about, the whole idea is based on the organization of a report, and for that purpose we need to understand what is the basic structure, how it begins and how it comes to an end. So if we talk about the structure of a report, basically this is the beginning of your report. It should always begin from the title page. The first page basically known as the title page. And what's there on the title page? These are the 4 basic components which are required to be there within the title page. Your basic title, what the report is all about, then the basic date of submitting that report, then talking about who was the basic addresser, and lastly who was the addressee for whom that report has been written. So the details of all these 4 components are the essential part of your title page. Once it's there, we can move ahead.